Yeah, so we're really happy to have you here today. And I know you're super busy this week at the Bitcoin conference. So we wanted to check in and see how everything's going. And I know I actually met you there last year. So we're excited to hear how it's going, and consensus I know is coming up. And then I heard about a report. So I don't know what you can, share on that, but we would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, of course. So let's start with Bitcoin while I'm here in Vegas. So the National Cryptocurrency Association, as you probably remember, Kellyanne, is a national nonprofit that's here to help everyday Americans understand and use crypto with confidence. And so we're doing this in a couple of ways. The first is giving a voice to the tens of millions of everyday people and businesses who are already benefiting from crypto in their personal and professional lives. We know that there is so much misinformation and negativity out there. I mean, you can't even open the New York Times these days without seeing another hit piece on crypto with kind of the same old tired narratives about Sam Bankman-Fried and everyone in crypto is scammers. And it's that narrative is keeping a lot of normal people from feeling like this is a tool that can fit into their lives. And we want to change that by shining a spotlight on the positives. And so one of the things we're doing here at the Bitcoin conference, and that we'll also be doing at the Consensus conference next week, is we created a crypto confessions booth, which is actually a soundproof video and photo booth where we're inviting people at these conferences to step inside and tell us how they really feel about crypto. What's the first thing they think of when they hear about crypto? What do they wish more people knew about crypto? What's their message to the skeptics? Are they confident or curious or cautious when it comes to crypto? So we can really get smarter on the vibe, right? How are people thinking and feeling about this technology? And we're sort of seeing this booth as a little bit of like focus groups of one, where we can get hundreds of people's real unfiltered perspectives on the technology. And that helps us an education focused advocacy organization show up smarter with more content and resources and support that people really need based on how they're feeling at the moment. And as you mentioned, we do have a big report coming out. So in addition to sort of that qualitative, getting anecdotal, individual feelings and thoughts and stories on crypto, we're also doing a lot of quantitative research, partnering with research firms like the Harris Poll organization to do some of the biggest ever studies of crypto in the US about adoption trends, who's using it, how and why, who isn't, why not, and how are they using it. And so I'm excited to get much more into our 2026 report data with you, which that report is launching May 13th. And so we can share those findings publicly then.
Okay. So what is something that, okay, well, first I have to ask about the confessions. So what's one
Yes.
of the, like, I don't know, best confessions you heard? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's so interesting. So we launched this booth at South by Southwest in Austin a few weeks ago. And we know that just looking at the makeup of the city of Austin, it's much more sort of, they say keep Austin weird is their slogan, right? Historically, it's been a city that is against sort of big tech, against even big retail. I remember my first time at the South by Southwest conference, I was working with McDonald's digital team, and they didn't want McDonald's to show up at South by. There's not even a McDonald's in the city in the heart of downtown Austin, or at least that was true a few years ago. I think it's probably still true. And so we kind of knew going in, maybe people aren't going to be so excited to be talking about crypto, to be talking about things like AI and other sort of really tech forward innovations that are really taking off right now. We were a little bit like, okay, this will be a good litmus test for us. And so what we heard at South by Southwest was kind of three key trends. The first was a group of people who were incredibly skeptical of the technology. And that was kind of what we expected, right? So it was people who have been scammed, or their loved ones have been scammed, or they didn't get it. They believed the narrative and the hype that it was all fraudsters and bad actors. And so we were kind of prepared for that, but it was almost weirdly validating to hear them say that, because we knew that people felt that way, but actually putting faces to it, putting voices to it, hearing real off the cuff responses, it helped us understand a little bit more about the why behind it. And I think so much of it is just because of the mainstream media conversations, but also because it's just human nature to fear what we don't understand, right? And so a lot of people were just like, I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. It's magic internet money. Where does it come from? People conflate meme coins with real utility tokens, and they don't even understand the role of, Bitcoin people like as a long-term store of value, XRP people like for cross-border payments, a meme coin you might like as like a Pokemon card, a digital collectible. So I think there's just so many layers of education that needs to happen, which is exactly what the NCA is focused on. And actually, we have a few updates that I'm excited to share with you since we chatted last year about some of our new education programs. But then the other two tracks of sort of themes that we heard from people. One was a group of people who were like, "I'm curious, but I'm nervous. Like I'm cautious. I want to get into it, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start. Should I just buy Bitcoin? What's this Dogecoin thing all about?" So I think it was people who come over the skeptical hump and they're now in this curious bucket, but still maybe a little bit more cautious. And then the last group, which we were, of course, most excited to see, was people who are supportive of crypto. Even some people who had had bad experiences early on. Maybe they invested before they understood what they were really investing in. Maybe they sold at a loss. Maybe they were unfortunately caught up in a rug pull or some other type of fraud or scheme, which unfortunately happens, as we know, in every financial sector and unfortunately kind of every corner of the world. But a lot of people weren't deterred. The same way that, like, I have a cell phone with Verizon. My Verizon service went out a couple weeks ago. One day, I was actually in Austin at South by Southwest. I couldn't use my phone. It was in SOS mode. I don't know what was going on, but like, I'm not going to stop using my cell phone because of that. And I think that a lot of people are coming around to, okay, I tried out this tool. Maybe I didn't figure it out. I'm going to keep learning and keep practicing. And then there are, of course, people who are thinking it's the future of money. It means freedom and sovereignty. It's going to help make all sort of systems that we know and love faster, smarter, more secure, more accessible. So now, coming to the Bitcoin conference, where a lot of people are already into crypto, so far from days 1 and 2, the only confessions that I've really heard have been pretty positive about people who are just wishing that they got in earlier, wishing they told more of their friends and family about it sooner, and still feeling a little bit like they missed the boat, even though it's still such early days.
I know, it's hard to not have FOMO. Even though, like, we're here and we were here, yeah. But that's really surprising about Austin because that's where I learned about Bitcoin and blockchain, like, back in 2016. Because I had an AI company there and, like, with my cousin, actually, and he was, like, getting Bitcoin. I didn't know what it was. He's like, "I need $1,000." And I was like, "What?" And so I didn't, so people in Austin were all about it then. So, yeah, so I think, yeah, this is interesting. I heard another story too, not too long ago about like where people were just basically giving out, Bitcoin. Oh, join my website, you get Bitcoin. Join my website,
Wow.
sign up. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I said the faucets like back in the day where it's like solve the captcha, like prove you're
yes.
human, and they would give you Bitcoin. I actually saw that back in the day, but I was like, what's this for?
It's so fascinating, like
It
the
is.
very, very early days use cases, and we're still kind of there. So it's funny, Kellyanne, thinking about your experience. I'm realizing a lot of the people that I've met with in Las Vegas at the Bitcoin conference have come from Texas and Austin in particular, and so there is definitely a vocal community of folks who are early adopters and big believers in the technology who are building and doing cool things. And one really interesting use case we heard about yesterday was somebody who is building an app that it's a fitness tracker, and the more you move, the more steps you take, you actually mine cryptocurrency. So you move to mine is what they were talking about,
Oh my, oh
and
my
so I think
gosh,
that's
we need
right.
this. Wait, I'm writing it down.
Exactly. I'll get her info for you, but
Mine as
it's
well.
interesting because we think of, like physical wellness, financial wellness, like sort of bringing the two together, I think is really, really fascinating. Um, and before I forget, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the some of the new learning resources we launched, because I think that we're really trying to come up with an accessible entry point for people who are at different parts of their crypto journey, but especially for the crypto curious, giving them that safe space to learn it all. And so we actually launched our own podcast, and being on this conversation made me, especially some of the technical conversations we're having about Riverside, because I just recorded an episode of my podcast on Riverside where I also was playing around with the audio and video and how to hide people. But I host a weekly video podcast called Crypto Explained, and it's meant to be very 101 level. What is crypto? What is blockchain, how to set up a wallet, how to stay safe, how you can use it with no jargon, no hype. Like, very much the goal is you can listen to it with your whole family and everyone will get it and hopefully learn something new in a very safe space. And so we've been having different people from the crypto ecosystem on to share their perspectives, from, press to policymakers to businesses, crypto companies, real crypto holders. And it's been another way that we've been getting smarter, hearing different people's perspectives and insights so that we can continue to build resources that are going to help people however they need. So we also launched a sort of like a Duolingo for crypto, these 101 courses that will teach you the basics with little animated lesson plans and videos and gives you a quiz to test your knowledge along the way. And then actually what people are responding so well to at Bitcoin is this hands-on simulator that we have, that it looks and feels just like you're setting up a crypto wallet, you're making a purchase, you're making a trade, but it's not connected to real money. So it's a super safe sandbox for you to play in.
I really like that. Yeah. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, the demo thing, especially because Web3 is all about the transfer of value, right? And people are scared to do so the first few times, especially like bridging and swapping, and when it gets more complex. So I think that's fantastic. So Ali, I have a question
Exactly.
about the report that's coming out on May 13th. So what are some of the questions that you're hoping to answer in it?
Yeah. So in 2025, one of the first things that the NCA did was the largest ever study of crypto holders in America. We surveyed 55,000 people to get to the 10,000 that told us that they were holding crypto. And what we really wanted to understand last year was who is using crypto. What we really want to understand this year is how are they using crypto. And so I don't know how in depth I can get in this conversation, depending on when this episode will post. But some things I can tease is crypto is going even more mainstream. Even more people are using it than they were last year. And they're actually not just holding it, but they're using it. They're taking action with it. They're spending, they're sending, they're saving, they're donating, they're powering their businesses and passions with crypto. And so it's becoming a much more everyday tool that's sort of quiet in the background, and people are a little bit less, I think, like shouting it from the rooftops as we were in the first 10 years of crypto. And now it's sort of going from, how I'm thinking about it is like novelty to normalcy, where the same way that we don't shout from the rooftops every day about how great our smartphones are, it's just sort of making our lives a little bit easier to the point that we don't even think about it.
Yeah. And I have one more question, before I know you're getting ready to hop on the stage soon. And, but yeah, so I have one more question, and it is like totally just all about you. But like, how did you get into it, or how did you learn about it? How did you hear about crypto?
That's a great question. Yeah, I haven't shared my origin story too much, but you brought up AI, and that's a piece of my story as well. So I actually was working with PayPal in 2015, 2016, around there, and helped launch their crypto wallet. And so that was the first time I heard about cryptocurrency. But even then, there was still so few places where you could go for accessible information. And it was learning another language. It was jargon and white papers and Discord servers. And I felt very overwhelmed. And even working on the product, I didn't really feel like I fully grasped the true potential of what it was and what it could be and what it now is. And actually, after that, I went into the AI space. And so I was working with brands like Adobe on their innovation team. And it was called Adobe Sensei at the time. It was their AI product. And what happened with AI was very similar to what's happening with crypto, which is early days. Everyone's scared of this new tool. They don't get it. It's not for me. I don't understand why I would need it. 2015 AI, all people knew was deep fakes, right? The same way that with crypto, the first thing a lot of people heard about was Silk Road. So you have these early adopters that are kind of like bad apples spoiling the bunch and making people think that these tools are only for bad purposes. And so I was working in the AI space for a few years and saw the technology gets smarter. People stopped asking about large language models and just started thinking about things like ChatGPT and Claude. We don't necessarily need to know how it works behind the scenes, the same way I don't know how we're on this video conference right now, but we are, and it's working. And so when I was looking for my next career move, I was tracking both AI and crypto really closely. And I felt like crypto was just a few years behind AI in its journey, where you're at a time where there's still a lot of confusion and concern and misinformation adoption around the tool. There's still a lack of clear, smart, comprehensive regulation that helps people understand how to navigate it safely and smartly. And there's still a lot of like inaccurate discourse around it. And for someone like me, who's always had a background in communications, storytelling, meeting people where they are, that was actually a really exciting challenge of how do we shift perception? How do we turn the tide on this? And so I very fortunately was recruited by the National Cryptocurrency Association. I was actually the NCA's first employee. And so I've been able to, over the last almost 2 years, help build the organization in a way that I think is going to be the most impactful. And I'm very proud to say I think we are making a really positive difference. I think even just being at the convention center this week in Vegas, people are coming up to our booth saying, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. We need this. Like, my friends think I'm crazy. My family thinks I'm being scammed. We need a place that they can go, that they can learn what this is all about without any of sort of the hype and the jargon and the in language where you feel like if you don't get it, then it's not for you." And what we want to show is that crypto's for everyone.
I think that's great. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know my mom's friends are like, what are you doing? Because my mom finally got into it. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. And her friends are like, what? So it'd be great. I'll have to send your podcast her way. She can share it with them.
That
Since
would
you're,
be
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah, because if they go into ours, a lot of times we're doing technical things, and then they're just like, "What is your daughter going?" And they're like, "Yes,
Exactly. I kind of like to say, like, we're not here for the crypto pros. Like, they don't need us. They get what crypto is and how it works and how they can use it. Like, we're here for like the Joes and the Schmoes, right? Like normal people who aren't tech savvy, who aren't mathematicians. And by the way, you don't need to be tech savvy or a mathematician to understand how this works. If you can set up a Chase banking app, if you can set up a PayPal account, you can set up a Coinbase account. The user experience with these products and tools is becoming so seamless that it does feel it fits into your everyday behaviors. And especially we're working closely with PayPal. Their head of crypto, Mai Zabanya, just joined our advisory board. And when a legacy fintech company like PayPal gets on board, a trusted household name brand, we're going to see even more people start to embrace this technology and see it as safe and trustworthy.
yeah, yeah." I'm excited. I mean, I've been excited, but yeah, even more excited. Do you have anything you wanted to ask before we go, Laura?
And no, I'm very excited about the report. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ali, for taking time out to be with us here today. And I hope the conference goes very well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and have a great time. Tell everyone
Thank you.
hi. Okay.
I will. Have a great
Thanks.
day. Thanks,
You
ladies.
too. Thank
Bye.
Bye.
See
you.
you.